There's a lot of people out there saying that you're done. It's over for you right now. I know you stay away from that type of social media stuff. Is that motivating to you when that stuff comes out and they talk about you in that regards?
I don't blame them. When you play like poo, you should get talked about like that. And so, I need to play better. So if I'm not giving them a reason to talk good, then I'm giving them a reason to talk bad. So that's all on me. I need to play better.
Is that Monday Night Football's Louis Riddick, looking dapper as always. Louis, good to see you. Merry Christmas Eve. I will get to you in just a moment, sir. Max, I'm starting with you, though. This Pittsburgh team, started on that hot streak, right? Going undefeated. They've now lost 3 straight. Monday night, it was to the lowly Cincinnati Bengals. Ben couldn't throw anything downfield. Do you think he should be the one taking the blame for this 3-game losing streak?
Yep. You could point to other factors, but if I had to start somewhere, I'd say Ben Roethlisberger. Before I get into Roethlisberger, let me say the schedule has really killed the Steelers. They had to take their bye early. They missed their mini bye. They didn't get to host a Thursday night game at home. They played 3 games in 13 days just as the schedule got tough. All those things are true, and it conspired to make them look worse at this moment than they really are. However, I could point to 3 things that really have held them back recently, and it starts with Ben Roethlisberger not being able to throw the ball down the field. That's where it starts. They're not getting run blocking, that's true. But when your defense is playing up because they know there's no deep threat, that makes the defense against the run even better. It makes run blocking even harder. It makes it even harder for your running back. And then when you combine that with play calling that, let's just say it's predictable. Like if I'm sitting at home and I know what the Steelers are going to run, pass, then that means the defense knows too. But it starts, all that cascading effect starts with the fact that they have a quarterback who really doesn't get the ball down the field anymore. And by the way, the fact that he comes up and says what he says, like Carson Wentz, who sometimes people compare to Roethlisberger, take notes. That's how you do it. I play bad. Of course people are talking bad about me. Like he owns it. And he's done an amazing job for a 38-year-old coming back off a catastrophic injury, playing as well as he had, changing his style of play, not holding the ball and using his physical strength and everything and moving around in the pocket, just getting rid of the ball quickly and compensating for a loss of arm strength and also probably for durability issues. He's smart, being 38 now. But that doesn't absolve him, or it does, if you're pointing to who is to blame, where does it start? You got a quarterback with there's no vertical passing threat. That's where it starts.
Yeah, I think where this really starts fundamentally is from a physicality standpoint, the offensive line has been in a state of transition right from the very get-go during the regular season. They've had issues at right tackle. They've had issues at left guard. And then fundamentally, they just don't have the same kind of commitment, or they haven't had the same kind of commitment to running the football, because when you're not gaining 4+ carrying the ball, what happens is offensive coordinators tend to shy away from the passing game. Quarterbacks tend to shy away from the running game. Quarterbacks tend to audible away from the running game, and it winds up becoming a one-dimensional type of scenario where they wind up throwing the football. Has the short passing game, the catch-and-run game, been a big part of their offense this year? Yeah. Why? Because of issues with pass protection, so they start to throw the ball short because they don't want to get the quarterback hit. Now, as they know that teams start to then kind of come down and suffocate the passing game, what happens? Because, then they have to start taking some shots down the field. And admittedly, especially over the past couple of weeks, and especially on Monday night, Ben hasn't hit some of those deep shots, although they have been there. They have the people to get down the football field, but they have missed them. But if you really want to lay blame at what is going on with this offense in particular, it started all the way back in the beginning of the season with the offensive line just not being characteristic of the same types of lines that they have had in the past. Lines that they had when I played against them all the way back in the early 90s, where they just came and punched you in the mouth right out of the gate and established the fact that they were a two-dimensional team. They don't have a play-action passing game right now because the running game has suffered. Now, did they try to get back to that a little bit against Cincinnati? Yeah, Benny Snell ran the ball pretty well. They committed themselves to it even when they weren't averaging 4+ running the football. They still committed themselves to it, and you saw it kind of started getting the offense in a little bit of a rhythm. They started going a little bit more tempo. It started taking some of the pressure off of Ben, but it's still not where it needs to be. And the last thing I'm going to say is this. Even during that 3-game losing streak, how many times do you see wide receivers dropping footballs? Their margin for error is like this, offensively overall. It's like that when the wide receivers are dropping the football. Ben needs to do his part, but this really starts up front like it always does for most football. Well, like it does usually for most football teams. And I don't know if they're going to get that corrected. I don't think they're going to get that corrected. So what this means for Pittsburgh is this. If they have any chance of going ahead and winning the division still, and then winning more than one playoff game, Ben has to be darn near perfect. The receivers cannot drop footballs. Otherwise, there's just too much pressure on the rest of the football team, and they may be a one-and-done type of scenario.
Well, Deontay's got to hold on to the football, right? And Tomlin, what was it? They even mentioned it on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago. You know, Tomlin's the type of, if you can't catch the football, I'll just get someone who can catch the football. That's legit, Lewis. What I'm curious about what you're saying is, you said, look, they have guys who can get down the field. Are you saying that because the offensive line is not giving Roethlisberger enough time, that compounds the situation because he's going to take a hit because there's no time for guys to get open down the field, and therefore they're going to the short passing game?
Well, what I'm saying is, in order to push the ball down the field, you have to hold the ball longer. The longer you hold the football when your offensive line is compromised, as you saw against the Bengals, the more your quarterback's going to get hit. Do you really want Ben getting hit that much, is what I'm saying. So you say, look, what's the happy medium here? Well, let's go with more 3-5-step, get the ball quick, get it into the hands of these wide receivers so they can catch and run. That was working for them to the tune of 11-0. All right, that was working. But then what happens is, if teams know you have to get the ball out fast because you're afraid of your quarterback getting hit, corners are going to start creeping forward. They're going to start sitting on your short and intermediate game, right, and then they start suffocating that too.
Jumping routes, yeah.
So then Ben hasn't had a whole lot of reps throwing the ball down the field. So then when they ask him to do it, he's missing guys. I mean, he missed them on Monday night. They had multiple shots Monday night, and he just flat out missed them. And then there was other times where he was trying to push the ball down the field, and he was getting rocked. So they're in a bad spot right now. There's no question about it. They're in a bad spot.
But that's why I'm asking, Lewis, because to me it looks like he's not really able to get it down the field and put it where he wants to put it with zip as he once did. And as a result of that, I think that's really what I think about Chip Kelly's offense from years ago, right? Like lots of short passes to simulate a run game, but then shots down the field. Once you take away the shots down the field, if you're not getting run blocking, if you're especially right tackle, you think, okay, that's going to affect the run game. If you're not getting run blocking and the defense is already creeping up, then you're not going to have any run game at all, and now you're also not going to have a short passing game. That's why I'm starting with Roethlisberger. Are you saying that he actually could be a vertical passing threat if he had better blocking up front?
Well, I'm saying that it would probably be a little bit more competent. I'm not taking anything away from your assertion that he hasn't been accurate down the field. I mean, we see that. It's been a problem. He has missed some of those shots. He's also hit some here early in the season. Thinking back to the Philadelphia game where Chase Claypool went crazy. He had some nice deep balls, plus 20, plus 25-yard throws there. It's just the consistency with which he's able to do this. What I'm saying, though, is this. When the offensive line is suffering, and then you go away from the running game, that takes away, especially on first and second down, your play-action passing game because teams don't honor it. If they just will commit to running the football, even when they're not getting 4+ on it, what will happen is defensive players will naturally become conditioned to say, okay, well, at least they're trying to run it, so I'm going to have to honor it a little bit more. And that will help out the throwing windows for Ben in that plus 15, plus 20-yard area in the middle of the field to push the ball down the field a little bit more. Without the running game, the deep passing game is going to really suffer. Defensive linemen are going to tee off. There's no play-action passing game. And you know what? His arm strength is just not what it used to be, so it's just going to look even worse. So what I'm saying is, if you don't have no threat of the running game at all, you're really going to be in trouble, and that's where it looks like they're heading right now, unless they change around their MO.
Now, how much is so? I would rank the problems. It starts with Roethlisberger. He can't get the ball down the field anymore. It looks like to me. It then goes to the offensive line, primarily run blocking, right? Because then they also can't get a run game, and that exacerbates everything. And then I go, maybe even before the offensive line, Lewis, I go to play calling. What do you think about the offensive coordinator? What's his name? Randy Fichtner in Pittsburgh, who used to be. Yeah. He used to be. He used to be Roethlisberger's quarterback coach not all that long ago before he got the job. But I'm sitting at home thinking if I'm sitting on my couch going, this offense is predictable, I imagine that defensive coordinators feel the same way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would still rank it like this. I would rank it as offensive line deficiency because they just are. And then I would go play calling / quarterback play in that order. Because if you don't commit to running the football and you don't help your quarterback out in that way, and then you're just putting it all on him when you know that he is somewhat deficient throwing the ball down the field, then you're giving him no shot. So I would really go in that order. And that's not to take any of the blame away from Ben, because he's admitted himself, I haven't been good enough. But look, when you're an aging quarterback like this, you need the help of a fundamental running game, which is spurred by offensive line capturing the line of scrimmage. And they just don't have the consistency with that. So I think it trickles downhill that way. Offensive line, play calling, then on to Ben. And don't forget, up until last week, the receivers were really letting him down in some big spots. And to Deontay Johnson's credit, he caught everything in sight on Monday night. So maybe they've gotten that part of it figured out. But a lot of their issues right now are so fundamental in nature, you can't fix them right now. You can only fix them with better players in the offseason. That's what scares me overall for this football team offensively is I think what you see is what you get, and that could lead to them being a one-and-done scenario when the playoff time rolls around.
So are you saying so that sounds to me like you're saying they're not going to win the division because they got the Browns on a week 17. And the Browns are surging. You think they beat little brother, or you think they're going to lose the division on the last game of the season? Yeah, that's you know what? That's a toss-up, man, because that's going to be a super, super emotional game. I think Pittsburgh finds a way to pull that out, but that could go either way because I'm a believer in the Browns now. I think they have turned the corner.
No question. Opposite trajectory here of the Steelers. Lewis, why we have you, when we come back, we need to get into one of your former divisions, the NFC East. Gentlemen, coming up, do we really think that Washington now is going to win the NFC East? We debate that after this quick break. It's First Take.
The NBA is in